All right, we are recording. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for agreeing to come to our PLC writing meeting. I am the candidate for the administrative candidate, and we have our team member for first grade. Thank you for coming. We have our team member for third grade, fifth grade, fourth grade, and our after-school program director. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate your participation. Before we get started with our actual meeting for writing, let's come up with some norms that we can agree on as a group that we will follow during our meeting. So does anyone have any ideas?
Stay on topic.
We can stay on topic, yes. Excellent.
Give time and space to speak.
Perfect.
Respect others' ideas.
Space. Respect others' ideas.
No cell phones.
No cell phones.
Or extracurricular.
Or distractions.
Extracurricular distractions.
Be open-minded.
Excellent ideas. Excellent all. All right, thank you so much for coming up with those. We will put those in the middle so that we remember them. All right. The next thing I'd like to do to get our meeting started is we need to decide some roles that we can each have during the meeting so that we can stay on track. Because this is mine, I'm going to be the facilitator. I'll be group member number 1. Who would like to be recorder?
Volunteers tribute.
All right, member number 2, thank you for recorder. Timekeeper, you were
I think I'm 5. 4.
4, thank you very much. A task manager, to make sure that we're following the agenda.
I will take task manager.
Okay, thank you.
Number 3.
And then somebody, if you both want to help us keep focused and on track, so we're not coming up with things that aren't applicable. I would appreciate that from both of you. Let's see, 6 and 5. 5 and 6, perfect. Thank you so much for your efforts with that.
You're welcome. Oh, sorry.
That was
My bad.
first rule.
I'm
already broken.
I know, you know who the rule
It's
breakers in this
not
one.
throw us off track. Thank you very
I
much.
did write down the norms, I promise.
All right. So normally we would go through with reflections and celebrations, saying something good, but we're kind of limited on time right now. Is there anything pressing that anybody would like to share?
It's
Okay.
Friday.
It's Friday. I
Yay!
love that. It's Friday.
Excited for the topic.
And I am so grateful to all of you for staying on a Friday. All right, we've done our norms. All right. So I've given you each of you an agenda with our dashboard data on it. So what I'd like to do in doing some research that I've done, I've noticed that we have a glaring discrepancy in our writing scores across the school from kindergarten through 5th grade. I've looked at the district benchmark scores. I've looked at the California dashboard, the LPAC scores, and the CASP results. And we have a pretty big discrepancy with how we're doing with that. So let's take just a couple of minutes, and if we want to look at the different forms of data.
You'll have it.
And we're looking at just the writing,
Just
right?
the writing.
Yes, just the writing.
Yeah, when I was doing those numbers. That's why I'm excited about this topic.
Do you wanna look a little more?
Yeah, some of the results are kind of
Yeah.
scary.
I was looking at just the fourth grade and I'm like, ooh,
I think it's just trying to,
0%.
when I had seen these prior, like, before this, cause checking standards and trying to hit my goals to introduce it for third grade, it was just like, I was just like, oh my gosh, but it's the culture too of the campus, so it's like, we kind of like, it's not embedded, we don't have a curriculum for it
Right.
here too, so
Right.
it's like, we're working with, you know, not a lot of resources and tools to promote this, so I feel like the language and changing the culture might have an impact.
And first grade, they kind of, you're teaching more of the basic structure of writing, sentences and word formation on all of that, but by the time we get to third and fourth and fifth grade, they have to be writing full paragraphs,
Yeah.
and
And they're not.
they're not, they're struggling.
Yeah, even if I have a couple who are still struggling.
Even getting a complete sentence,
Mhm.
capitalizing an I, doing an uppercase at the beginning of the sentence, they're still not doing that.
Developing strategies and stuff like that too is just like, okay, and then, but you still can't just, you know, lead them to it, you have to scaffold too, because if they don't have that background knowledge and they still haven't mastered a step or a concept, I have to go back and be like, okay, so I'll have like a little toolbox bar underneath, and I'll be like, alright, did you put, you know, capitalization, did you put your punctuation, so it's like a little toolbox,
That's
and then they have to like check it, you know, so.
What I've noticed a lot too is this new term, learned helplessness. They want you to hold their hand, they don't wanna just do it on their own.
Yeah.
And as soon as you say, okay, we're gonna write, you get lots of complaints.
Yeah.
It's like they just do not
You hear
wanna
the
do
moaning
it.
and the groaning.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, if I can add, so coming from the after-school support side, the toolbox that you mentioned, so we're supposed to, obviously back up what's going on in the day, so when they're working with homework and those kiddos aren't going to their parents for support, they're coming to us. Would that be something we should look at
That would
sharing
be
that?
amazing, like,
Sometimes what's hard for us, and that's why I'm glad that, obviously after-school program was invited to the meeting, because it's hard for us to honestly back up a teacher that doesn't communicate what they
Right.
need backup on, right?
Exactly.
So, you're the teacher, you know what you're working on, you know what standards, you know where the child is as far as needs, and what their capabilities are, that these instructors are essentially, as a parent, trying to just support, so they don't have that background, that's why you're certificated.
Yeah.
And so, but then again, these kinds of things are the things that should be shared, so that
Right.
we
And-
can
And this
help
what,
your
and then
kids.
going back to my culture conversation, now mind you, I came from middle school, coming in first time, third grade teacher, so I started developing the language, and I'm just like, I just knew that I wanted to hit the writing standard, so a lot of it was you know, like educating, like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, what do they need to know to hit? So I always, even as a teacher, even though I'm certificated, I still have to refer to my standards as a guideline.
Right.
And it's like constantly like, okay, did this work, did that work? And it's like going back to the wheel, because it's like you go to a party or something like that, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, okay,
Yeah.
next time, I know these people, I know how I'm gonna
I know how to
react
be
this-
next time.
Yeah, I know how to be next time, I'm not so conservative or whatever. So it's just like learning your environment and stuff, and your audience, and so you're getting background knowledge for them and stuff. And because like I've had in 6th grade where I've had kids where like it felt so easy just to like breeze, and then I've had other years where it was just like,
Pulling
oh
teeth
my gosh,
and hair
I gotta
and
stop.
everything.
Yeah, so it's just you're just always on the whim of
Yeah.
figuring things out, but
And
I
I
really
agree.
do like the toolbox thing.
I do, and I like it too, because as they're trying to figure it out too, but they're trying to figure it out for if we have 5 different 3rd grade teachers, that's,
Yeah.
And they're all teaching
and
something
they're all-
different.
on a different page or a different focus, then that instructor is literally dealing with 5 different
Yeah.
things.
So
So
when it comes to not having a writing curriculum, you could have 5 different teachers
Exactly.
all doing 5 different curriculums.
Exactly.
And not,
Or
and we try
teaching
sharing
it
that
different
all
too.
the time.
Mhm.
So because and they they don't have that background where they're kind of learning hands-on, right? So sometimes even that is great, but when you don't have
The resources.
the resources or the language or the understanding to back it all up.
Well, amen,
And
sister. We don't
different-
have tools and resources either.
we will get those to you once we
Yeah.
have them.
Once we have them, we'll share. Sharing is
So,
caring.
And we have different strategies too, like
Mhm.
Right.
one might teach the race strategy, one might do the hamburger strategy,
Yeah.
one might be using an actual curriculum that's
Mhm.
using an outline. So
We need to
You
get
have
Oreos.
these-
I do
Yeah.
Oreo writing, so
yeah,
yeah.
and every time they go to a next grade, they're learning a new strategy.
Mhm.
So really, if they're learning all these new strategies every year,
There's no
they're probably like,
consistency.
wait, which strategy? What do I do? Like,
Yeah.
I think we need to find something where we can be consistent from at least 1st grade to
Mhm.
5th grade, where it's consistent.
We all have to speak
teaching
the same language, basically, so.
Well, thank you everyone for your feedback on that. It's very helpful, and we see a lot of problems that we need to address. And as we have discussed, teachers and adults are naturally problem-solving oriented. So we want to solve this problem. We want to know that it's going to fix a need that we see right now. So for our next set of PLC meetings, let's come up with a problem statement that we can address for our entire school about writing, and make sure that we get our standards in there, making sure that we address the needs of our EL kids as well as our special needs kids with their different things that going on there. So we'll come up with a problem of practice, and we can look at several different programs that we can sample and see what works for us, and how we might be able to merge parts of it together, take the best parts of each and put it all together so that we can use it for our school, and then hopefully for the entire district. So, thank you very much, and we will.
Says
meet
what
again.
is it we need to direct our focus? So that's what we're.
So, but we do need to we need to come up with an actual problem statement.
Yes. And I have a sample problem statement here. So coming up with one, although the Common Core state standards emphasize writing as a critical tool for reasoning, communication, and knowledge building across content areas, students here at this school, and particularly the English language learners and African American students, demonstrate persistent challenges in meeting grade level writing expectations. Data from state and local assessments indicate that these student groups frequently struggle with the CCSS aligned writing tasks requiring the development of clear claims, coherent organization, appropriate use of evidence, and command of the standard English grammar and conventions. Does that sound like it would be an appropriate thing to base our problem on?
Pretty big goal.
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm like,
Yeah, it is, it
for
is big.
first grade, can we chunk it down?
Of course.
Uh,
And it'll
change.
it'll scaffold
Yeah.
throughout the grades.
I feel like if you look at it more like that's the standard, and then it's gonna, with the
Mhm.
standard, it's broken up in grade levels.
I was gonna say, we need
So,
some
yeah.
vertical alignment.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, which is
I
why
agree,
I
yeah.
asked all of you
Yeah.
here for the different grade levels.
So that's
and
just,
different-
that's the mastery concept right there, that's the
Right.
main end goal.
This is the final expectation,
That
hope,
would be fifth grade or some goal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
There you go.
and
Y'all gotta self-support, okay?
And of course, kindergarten and first grade, you're gonna be working on your standards, which,
Can I work on, just getting a I was gonna say,
Thanks, yeah.
when you talked about like the toolbox, we have like our little like check off box.
Oh, I
and
love
we're
that.
just
I love
working on
toolboxes.
trying, like keywords, like
Mhm.
they can brainstorm off of.
and I have kids that couldn't even figure out how to fill in a sentence frame. I
Mhm.
gave
Yeah.
them the frame, all they had to do was fill in
Fill in
just
the
a
blanks.
couple of words,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Well,
I got
here's,
that too.
I really am a big advocate for the toolbox. I went to a training, that's how I learned this, was because there's actually a training for it. It slipped my mind what it's called, the training that I went to, but it's basically essentially geared towards that toolbox. And I feel like every grade level, if this is the goal, every grade level should have a toolbox of a need to help that student. And that could be the universal language and the consistency that we can develop is if every grade level has it. And then we push it out to ASP and they have the universal language of that toolbox, so.
I like that.
Mhm.
If you could,
Like,
find
I
us the
have,
name
like-
of that PD, that
I
would
was
be
gonna
great.
Yeah, I'll look it up, I'll look it up.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, it did wonders, that's where I got a lot of my background knowledge was, cause man, professional developments, I will go to those like crazy, cause it's
Yeah.
like where I get a lot of my good stuff.
Mhm.
But I'll have to think about it, but it was a really good, PD.
I'll have to look, so, we're about to attend Boost.
Mhm.
And so it's a convention collaborative for, everything enrichment, after school support, supplemental curriculums, things like that. I'm gonna see if there's something about Toolbox while I'm there next week.
Yeah, cause it has there's a name for it, and I
People
wish,
come
it's like,
from all over the world.
it's
so
really
awesome.
on the tip
Yeah.
of my tongue, but I went one day, we went as a team over at, our school, and yeah, it opened up some windows for sure, but I gotta remember the name, cause they come up with all these
Right.
strategies and it has a name on it, but I feel like they're all the same, they're all linked to each other,
Yeah.
so, but keyword I take away was toolbox.
Yeah, I like that. If each grade level could have a toolbox and then we just add on as we go on.
And I know we've been really working on our AVID as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
Should we include our AVID in that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Strategies should be
Mhm.
included,
I-
because we do
yeah.
get observed on them too.
With my Oreo strategy, so I call it an avid writing binder.
Uh-huh.
And so I throw all my strategies in there. I have thinking maps. I have, my
Like for yourself?
for my
your
classroom.
your
Yeah.
classroom.
And so each of my students has an avid writing binder.
Mhm.
And so
I mean, we have binders, but they just have one section of that binder of writing.
yeah, no, I don't like to overwhelm them for the
Yeah.
grade level because they're like
Yeah, they're
being
just
they're
little.
being weaned
Yeah.
off of K through
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
So this is where they
They
got to step
start.
up their game and be ready for you guys.
Yeah.
So it's just like teaching them the language and like getting them comfortable to talk. So I figured have one focus goal
Yeah.
for them,
I
and
like
that was my
Mhm.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay.
Well, to piggyback off of your writing, I know one of the things that I know we've been doing in first grade is that we need to make sure that whatever they're writing, that they can even, I'm emphasizing that they have to be able to read back
Yeah.
what they're writing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they can, you can write whatever you want, but if you
Right.
can't read it back,
Mm-hmm.
Bigger problem.
that's even a bigger problem.
Right.
And so that way they're learning that oh, look at when I'm reading that back, oh, that doesn't make sense, or I'm missing keywords or details and things like that,
Or
so.
if it's too sloppy to be even
Yeah,
Yeah.
read.
and we talked about that as well, and
Yeah.
so, like I said, I brought a lot of samples for you, that
I
you
do
can
appreciate
see
that,
that
yes, thank you.
range from,
When
I
you,
got it to, I know.
Yeah.
The
stuff like
science
that.
of reading and
yeah,
writing.
when you teach them to read it back, do you have them do it to themselves? Or
No,
do you have them do
they,
it out
no,
loud?
I've gotten them to the point where they're comfortable enough in class that they share.
Nice.
And we all know, and it also works on our listening and speaking strategy, where when somebody's talking, you're listening.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not running your mouth while everybody else is trying to talk, and if somebody's violating that rule, we get stopped and
Try again.
we discuss this again, and,
Yeah.
or like, and we work on volume as well, because some of them.
Right.
And she's hitting that
And-
collaboration
yeah,
standard.
yeah, and I'm like, nope, I'm gonna stop you, turn up the volume,
Air
turn up
right,
the volume, you know,
Yeah.
so trying to get them to speak
Well, I'm
up,
glad you're doing
and be okay,
collaboration, that's
so-
awesome.
So I
you
just
know.
wanna be mindful of time, sorry.
Yes,
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you,
you're
thank
good.
you.
Gotta do my job.
I appreciate that. Okay, so we've all had a chance to look at different programs, use different things within our classes. What are some strategies with the programs that you've seen and been able to use that are particularly effective?
I have to say, I went through the thinking maps training. I was using a curriculum top score, which I really enjoyed, but we don't have the time that it requires. So I was not being able to go through it as fast as I would like to and cover as much. But I've been changing now, going to the thinking maps, and I've seen a rise in engagement, and I've seen where their brainstorming in the organization is starting to come together better. And then I use, on top of that, I use vertical learning. So they're using whiteboards standing up to do their thinking maps, and then they go back and do it on their own. And I'm finding that is helping as well with the engagement and with the whole thinking process.
And I've seen you use that, it's really effective, I like it.
I will say I've also been attending the Thinking Maps training, and there has been a bit of an improvement for my students, at least for 5th grade. Especially once they clicked and they realized, like, I just wrote my whole paper here, I just have to copy.
Right.
Like, I can copy for days. I'm like, yes, you can. So I feel like once we hit that, they're really starting to get it. And I know that Thinking Maps does have a writing curriculum specifically. I just don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, and I also do, I went to the trainings for Thinking Maps, and I do feel like they have a lot of good strategies. However, I feel like what needs to be is like speaking the language. So my kiddos are not at that level to speak the language yet. So I have to develop ways to introduce it to them to where they can start critical thinking, because they don't want to use their brains.
And I
And
think
it's like,
you could use the Avid, you know how they have the,
that's why I did that
yeah.
Avid binder, because I was
Yeah.
just like, come on, these are the tools, these are the
they have
resources.
like,
And they have, again, the checkbox where they're
Yeah.
checking off the Avid strategies and aligning the thinking maps strategies with it. So it's a lot of supplemental
Yeah.
with the combination of these things, just for that particular grade level, just because, again, going back, they need the tools and the resources to know how to be independent thinkers and stuff, so.
I find combining Avid with thinking maps is a lot easier than combining Avid with like an actual curriculum,
Yeah.
like top score.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
They do align. I've been using it in my classroom, like I did that Oreo strategy, and I had it and it aligned very well. And, you know, just pulling like bits and pieces, but that binder is their organization tool to put everything they need and stuff, so.
Yeah. We share the binder.
And you were able to bring in the secret stories for the younger kids. And it, especially for the pre-K, the TK, the kinders, the first grades, those kids that have somehow missed the skills of the basic phonics and phonemic awareness, secret stories has been pretty effective.
Yes, it's very, plus they love the song, they love to sit there and sing that and put it on the Promethean. So yes, that has been, I think, a great help. A lot of the teachers are using it, and the ones that weren't,
Have you gotten the training for that?
we have not.
That's,
It's a,
Our
it was
higher
a-
ups are wanting the other program,
the other one.
Success for All.
What's Success for All?
So what we've been using as intervention
I've
for
tried, but
that is,
kindergarten.
this
I
is
think
my
it's
title.
Second.
So anyway, but I've tried really hard.
Yes.
We did provide the materials, after
right,
school.
but I kept waiting to hear something more about the training
So-
and.
And we were
And
told
there
they
are some,
that training.
Katie Gardner, she's like on YouTube where you can watch her. There's a Facebook page that you can actually like link up with where a lot of, peers are available to share out what they're doing.
Do you have something that maybe is a quick summation of
Yes.
a lot of it
I can
that you can
definitely
get
share
to me for somebody who is juggling 3 massive roles?
Will do.
Because
So-
I'm like, I don't have time to like.
Cause she aligns with like Jack Hartman
Mhm.
and,
We watch Jack Hartman
yes.
all day.
so I actually
No, I
went,
love
Oh.
that for men. I have this like little
Yes.
CDs.
Cause I
I'm
went,
old school CDs like.
he has a lot of new material. I know, I got to
Yes.
actually see his new material, but, I went to one of the trainings this summer where I got to see Katie and Jack.
Oh,
And
that's
awesome.
cool.
also Jean, and so it was a pretty amazing one. But
I still play
Yes.
Jack Hartman in 4th
Oh,
grade.
yeah.
I love Jack Hartman.
I will just tell you, the kids
They love
are
it.
bored with Success for All.
Yeah.
It's boring, it's too slow, it's.
And
So
see, and
that's a
the thing.
big drawback.
Yes.
I mean, I get it for like your kids that are, I see Success for All for like maybe like a serious like intervention program.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's what I see it for, not like a whole
Yeah.
class.
Not as
Yeah.
tier 2. It's more of a tier 3.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
very,
Yes.
very focused on
Yeah.
specifics.
Yeah.
Secret Stories has.
It's
Yeah,
got kinetic
it's-
learning, it's got the stories that go with it.
Mhm.
Like, I got to utilize it when I was teaching 1st grade, and I had kids who were trying to sound out words for their own narrative writing. And like, this one I will remember forever because he was trying to, I don't remember what word it was, it ended with the ER. And
Oh,
there's a
that's
story
the
for
word.
the
Yes,
ER
yes.
about like crashing cars, and he was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and straight up and like this, and I was like, oh, he knows it. And he wrote the ER, I was like, like
Yes.
it is phenomenal.
And they do, and then if you actually like tie it in where like some of the people with I can't think of what they're called right now at blank, but like the Q and the U, right? So they get married.
Yeah,
and
Q
then-
wedding.
Cute isn't going well with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and so and they remember it like they
Yeah.
do. They love
They need
the
stories.
story,
Yeah,
so it's
Yeah.
engaging.
yeah, it's really good.
Well, and I feel like, I know it's not a necessarily set curriculum, but if we could tie like the thinking maps with Avid and Secret Stories, I feel like we could
Absolutely.
essentially create like our own
I
kind of
agree with you.
district program
Mhm.
that would really, really help it. My only concern with doing that would be if you have brand new teachers, because we always get brand new teachers every year,
Mhm.
they're gonna look at it and be like, ah!
Yeah.
So
There
we can make
may be
it
a
friendly.
definitely-
But I feel though, because besides the secret stories, we're already, they push us out there for the Avid, for the thinking maps. It's a thing that's constantly like, already doing. And so we have teams, our grade level teams, I mean, we
True.
could share it, like,
Mhm.
you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
and help
So-
break it
to,
down
to
on each
tie
level.
into the new teacher thing, right? Because every time we get somebody new, you just got to look at it as that's a new person to train
Mhm.
Mhm.
this
And that's why
direction
we're doing
versus
our
coming in
PLC.
with their own agenda.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
So we have our PLC meetings, that could be
Yeah.
something you can break out into the PLC
Yeah.
and
Do a training on it.
and if you have your Avid binder, right, you can just
Examples.
open it up and just be like, let's like breathe, and like it's right there for you,
Yeah.
and you know, and everybody gets to put their own style and piece into it, because we all don't speak, when it comes to our environment, we get the curriculum,
Yeah.
but we all address it a different way. We
Yes.
have different styles and approaches to how we address it. Same material, different voices. So.
Yeah. I've also gotten to take a look at the handwriting without tears, and I think for the older kids, it's just called writing without tears. It's definitely more geared toward the lower students. The upper grades, it's more just like handwriting practice, not so much helping to formulate writing to like a prompt or something.
Which the kids also need writing
I was gonna say,
practice.
didn't we change most of that now, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And then just to kind of add, everything that gets used, maybe if we can start sharing whatever materials you're using with the after school, because obviously it's only one instructor per grade level.
Right.
So even if you share it to me and I facilitate it to them,
Well, is there a way we could set up a shared drive that we could share
definitely
things
with
with
our
after school
Google, that would actually be a
Okay.
great idea.
I've also, like, so I've got to know my, grade level after school program, teacher. And so we do like like when you give a present to each other for like the mailbox, I go, okay, if you see something, check my mailbox, cause I have papers for you to, I would love, to do the thing, so she would pick it
I
up,
just
my
add them
stuff,
to my
so.
Google Classroom. I'm like, okay, there's my Google
But I'm just saying, if you
Classroom.
wanted it, if you had something paper based too, like I know, I put it in my mailbox and she grabs it and then she gives it out to the kids and goes over it, so, just for that extra practice, but, yeah.
All right, thank you so much for all of your ideas and your ideas, thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Let's see, so we've now had a chance to look at different programs, we've looked at the dashboard results, of all of the writing, we know we need help. We've come up with our problem statement that will be scaffolded from lower grades up to the upper grades so that they will be ready for middle school and beyond. We are an AVID school, so we want to make sure that they are college and career ready. And that really depends on their writing, making sure that they are able to do that. So our next steps,
Our resources.
So
Looking
what
at our various
resources?
resources, which we've talked about thinking maps
Mhm.
and
Avid,
Avid,
secret stories.
secret stories, writing without tears.
Facilitating achievement, what curriculum, we've already talked about that. And then determine next PLC, so what can we next meet to review our findings? What can we next meet?
all right, so let's give a little bit of time so that we can really look at how it's working in our classrooms. Next time we meet, I'd like to be able to discuss what we know doesn't work. It just doesn't work at all. What is really working well, what we can implement from each of the different programs. And those are some, to see if we can find a way around the setbacks that we have encountered. How can we adjust those to make our curriculum better? And I do think it would be a good idea for us to create something for our district that is usable for all of us, not only in the regular school day, but also for the after-school program, and making sure that it is usable for all of us, and we'll get results. That's what we want to see is results. So let's. Are we available in about 6 weeks or so that we can meet again? Is 6 weeks enough time to be able to use this and let's get some baseline results of what we have now, and we have samples that you have brought in for me, and I can we can all look at that, and then in 6 weeks let's do another sample, and we can compare the results of that and see where we are.
Perfect.
All right. And thank you very much, each of you, for coming, and I am really looking forward to getting some really positive results from this, and I appreciate all of your input.
if it's okay, I'm gonna, basically put this out to the instructors to see what their point of view is
Oh,
on
absolutely.
what they might wanna hear based on all of this. So I can give it to you and then we can go from there.
Perfect, all right. Thank you so much, I appreciate it, and have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Thank you.